Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Katherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to Live, Love, Thrive Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you by 360 Karma. We hope that you're following us on Facebook and, of course, joining us on Twitter and Instagram at My360 Karma. Thanks for tuning in today. We have two wonderful guests, Debi Carlin Boyle and also Adey-Jones. They are a dynamic duo. You're going to love them. We're going to be talking about health and body fitness and mind, spirit, soul, and they are just incredible. So please give a warm welcome to Debi and Del. Hi, guys.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Good to be here.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Just getting back from being away, and so happy to have you two on here talking about mind, body, spirit, health and fitness, everything that gives us peace of mind and helps us to I say live life to its fullest, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of things that have to come into play for that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad I met you all last year at the Live, Love, Thrive conference.
Exactly.
And the She Angels that accompanied that. In fact, we just shot our finale of She Angels yesterday.
Wonderful.
Our two winners that got funding from that are doing incredible work.
Oh, my goodness.
It was so exciting to see the progress they've made and to see that, women getting behind women with funding and mentoring
Absolutely.
is what it's all about now. And I love that people are talking about that more.
Yeah.
So,
And that you're giving them a platform to make that
Absolutely.
happen.
Thank
I
you.
think that's fabulous.
yeah, there's a lot of
event
more and more
was-
platforms out there like that.
Exactly.
I know there's one called We Are Enough, another called CEO. Just so many of them are popping up. Female Founders Network, and they're all giving a platform of both people getting funding and, what's even more important, is women who are successful giving funding.
Exactly.
We've got to cultivate that culture in
That's
our
right. Yeah.
world.
It's got to keep full
that-
circle. Keeping
Exactly.
it going.
Yeah, it's on my mind. I had this conversation with
Yeah.
someone today, and so
Exciting, very exciting.
But you two are doing such good work in helping
you.
women to, get their mind, body, spirit, health, and fitness
Well,
together.
we do men too.
and men too.
We influence,
We do.
Yeah,
We do.
we bring everybody.
But on this
onto-
show, we only care about women.
No, but it's, a lot of time we do work with women. My majority is women.
Yeah.
And that's because I
Oh,
find.
good, you can stay.
I find, especially after a certain age, women really start to stress about their health.
Yes.
They start to look at life a little differently.
Yes.
They start to see it from, it's different phases. We have
Right.
different
It
stages.
is different phases. And I'll tell you what also impacts that, and this is very raw for me, is that just having lost my sister, I agree with you that, boy, that was a wake-up call to be thinking about health.
Absolutely.
And,
Right.
to
It
lose
is.
somebody when they're
You're
too
so
young
young,
to go. And so it's it's a wake-up call to all of us, because when we get to be around 50, 60, we do start to lose some family and friends, and it impacts us in thinking about our quality of life. And that's why I think the work that you two do is very important. It's important
Yes,
that
it's
people seek
preventative.
out people like you all that help them to have this balance in their life, spiritually, mentally, physically. And it's something that we can't always do on our own.
No, I know.
And that's really the
Exactly.
conversation
Yeah.
I wanted to have with you guys today. Before we talk about that, though, I want to talk about your two extremely diverse backgrounds. You two really couldn't be more different.
I know.
And it's so interesting how you met, and we're going to talk about that because that's a fun part of the story.
But that's what actually brought us together. I think if we were cookie cutter and too similar, then I think the show would get a bit boring, or we'd at least have one host.
Yes.
But the fact that we are so different
Yes.
and come from different backgrounds, not only the way we grew up,
Yes.
but what we do,
Right.
it gives diversity to our show. which
Right,
is
and
what
we need to
love.
mention that you all do your own show here
Oh,
at
yes.
UBN,
Yes.
Universal Broadcasting Network, the Del and Deb show.
The Del and Debi, Mind, Body, Soul.
Okay, great, yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been on your show.
Yes,
You
you
have.
have.
Yeah,
That's-
which
yeah.
was awesome.
yes.
And I just love the two of you. You both have
Thank
great
you.
energy. And
Thanks. We have fun.
yeah, you do. You have fun.
Yeah.
We
That's what
enjoy
life's
what we
all
do.
about.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about the work you do and how people can work with you, but I also want to talk about your background. So, Del, I've had a lot of people on my show, but you really have an extraordinary background. I mean, girl, what you shared with me was,
Yes.
I think my mouth was on the floor when I got up off the phone call with you, like our
know.
pre-interview. And I just can't believe what you've been through, but I agree with you that it's because of all you've been through that it makes you such a great coach for other people, because
Thank you,
you said
yes.
nothing they say ever shocks you.
Well, it doesn't. And again, and I believe that everybody's completely whole and healthy on the inside. And it doesn't matter what you've gone through in your childhood, what you've endured or whatever. It doesn't have to define you.
Right.
And what I teach these days is something called the 3 principles of mind, consciousness, and thought. And it really, it gave me the freedom. And I was in therapy. I mean, I had some issues to work out growing
Yeah.
up. And I was in therapy for over 30 years. And every spiritual modality, every self-help book I had read. And this understanding is what really gave me the freedom that I'd been looking for all my life. So.
Well, I love what you said the other day, which was you've developed a way that people can be happy no matter what's going on the outside.
Absolutely.
And so,
And it's
but
not
let's
just-
share your background, because
Oh,
I'm sure
a little
people
bit.
now are
I'm
curious.
a little curious about that.
You know,
okay,
I mean,
well, it could take the whole half an hour, and I'm not going to grab it from Debbie. But very briefly, I
Yeah.
grew up in Wales, in the UK. I was born in 1959, and
me too. And
well,
not in Wales,
same-
but in 959.
I'm the
was gonna
senior
say-
citizen here. I'm just saying.
Okay. And it was a very unusual circumstances. My growing up, I was the product of an affair with my mother and my father, and he never acknowledged us growing up. And they were 3 children with my mother, and it definitely impacted my life. I definitely had a few issues around men,
Right.
And then also to make money, because she didn't have any money to support us. She opened up our house to bring in mentally handicapped people that needed care.
Right.
So we all grew up in little trailers in our backyard, and
But you grew up living with these mentally
Yes.
handicapped people that had like schizophrenia.
oh,
and things like that.
schizophrenia,
Yeah.
bipolar,
Right.
Not just mental illness, but mental handicap. So some of them
Right.
severely distorted
Right.
and very scary for a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up with a lot of fear and defenses, and I was always reading danger signals. So it's actually
gosh.
really good when it comes to coaching, because I can sort of read what's going on. I mean, you become very sensitive to other
you
people's.
definitely have that unique upbringing that I don't think many people could say they have. And
Yeah.
didn't you say she went on to have, she had 7 children altogether?
She has 7 children
Never
altogether.
wed, the single mom.
Well, no, she was married for
Oh,
the
she
first
was?
3.
Oh.
First 3. The second.
Oh,
the,
gotcha.
The second batch of 4 of us, there was no marriage.
it?
But she was an amazing woman. She just passed earlier this year,
Right. And that's the end of the story that I
yeah.
love. She ended up getting this big mansion and
Yes.
filling it with all these handicapped kids. And
well, people, adults, some of them
right.
still live with us 40 years on.
Wow.
In fact, she actually had about 3 mansions at one point, so she built an empire.
but in doing this good, she ended up having a very successful, profitable business. And
Hugely profitable.
But at the loss of you having the nurturing that you deserved.
Well, let's put it this way: we
from
had
her.
to share her. She
Yeah.
was very loving and very nurturing.
Right.
Slightly narcissistic at times, but definitely loving
how
and.
interesting such a narcissistic person would help so many people.
Well,
that's
but
fascinating.
She wasn't fully narcissistic. I
Right.
think she was very codependent too.
Yeah.
But she would have certain sort of
Yeah.
behaviors of a narcissist, like it was. I mean, she just definitely thought that we were fine, that the kids could take care of themselves, and these
Right.
mentally ill people needed her more than we did. Which,
Right.
so to get her attention, we all had to act crazier than the people that were crazy, which we did.
And you were smart enough
very
to know
well.
that. Yeah.
But it's a really unique upbringing,
Yes.
and I think it's so interesting what you bring to the table. Now, on the other hand,
Yes.
Miss, I grew up in Beverly Hills, Hollywood here. I mean,
Not so common either.
I'm the local. Yeah, this is not. Yeah.
yeah, but
local
who doesn't
people
want
like
to? I
that.
mean, who listening anywhere in the country doesn't want to have, been
grown
born
up
and
here.
lived and grown up in
Yeah.
Los Angeles?
This
I mean,
area is very familiar to me.
yeah,
so-
people come from all over the world to live here.
That's true.
So you're one of the fortunate few that were born here, and
Yeah.
that's cool. And you got to, I know you first studied acting. Like who born here doesn't?
My
Maybe
college
75% of the people.
degree,
right?
Because I was born here.
Yeah.
So I was catapulted into that.
Yeah,
moved all
and
over.
then ended up marrying a director, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and working in commercial production with a lot of celebrities. I know
Oh,
you named
yeah.
some, David Duchovny, and
Well, he was more
some of
of
the other
my
ones?
on the fitness end of it.
Oh, on the fitness end. Kevin
But
Bacon, Nick
I
Nolte.
mean, yeah, those were
Yeah.
fitness clients of mine.
Right.
But
But people around the world are always amazed with
Mm-hmm.
working with celebrities. Here in LA, it's just so common.
Exactly.
see,
Yeah.
especially on the lot we're at, and we're just walking back and forth. But that was sort of how being in the television commercial world for
Yeah.
30 plus years, up until about 6 years
Yeah.
ago. I
What-
did work with in that industry with a lot
Yeah.
of celebrities and a lot of named people.
And Del, you ended up working in entertainment also
I did.
because
I was too shy to become an actress, but I really actually wanted my father to notice me. So I became a costume designer. And I thought that when he saw my name at the end of a film, he'd go, "Oh my God, that's my daughter."
Yeah.
And when I met him when I was turning 30, I told him that, because he was like, "Well, why do you want to meet me?" And I said, "I've always wanted to, you've been with me in every relationship I've ever had, believe it or not, even though I've never spoken to you."
course.
And then when I told him that I'd become a costume designer so he would see my name at the end of a film, he was like, "Oh, you needn't have bothered, love. I don't watch films."
oh my gosh.
So that pretty much summed it all up.
Right.
And I let go of any sort of expectation at that point.
But here again, your story is so interesting. You came to LA not
Yes.
knowing anybody.
Exactly.
Met this costume designer, end up working with him and working in the movie industry
I
and
know.
TV.
And I was here on
costume
holiday.
design.
We actually
Yeah.
overlapped when I was doing commercials and she was doing commercials. We worked on the same commercial back in the 80s,
and
and we didn't
in this
figure it out until
building.
recently.
And in this
Wow.
building.
In
with
this
the director.
Building in the
Yeah.
early
Gosh.
80s.
Yeah,
What a
and
small
we figured
world.
it out recently.
Yeah.
We've been together for almost 3 years. It's 2
Oh my
years of the
gosh.
show.
And then also you found out that you did costume design on one of her ex-husband's productions.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Yes.
LA is smaller than most people
I know.
think.
Yeah,
The world
it's
is
in
small.
This industry, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we fast forward. We raised our families in Malibu.
Malibu.
And,
Right. And that's how you ended up meeting, right?
yeah.
You both had gotten
Yes,
a divorce
yes.
and came
But we
in
had
contact.
already met.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'd already met, and then
Right.
My husband
I was on a
actually.
show, a guest on a show about divorce reinvention. I was thinking, God, I just bumped into Debi a year or so ago. She'd be great on the show. So that was our first, as guests, we were on somebody's show, and then we looked at each other and was like, between the two of us,
Yeah.
So
we have a good mind, body, soul.
Yes.
The
'cause
whole
we could bounce
holistic.
it back and forth
Yeah.
to be full circle.
I
you know?
love that.
Exactly, yeah.
And the cool thing is that you guys are such an inspiration to our listeners who are out there. Maybe they're midlife or 50, 60, and they want to reinvent themselves. And you two reinvented
we did,
yourselves.
yes.
I mean, you came from
We did.
these diverse Hollywood backgrounds, successful careers, and had to, after your divorces, reinvent yourselves and wanted to do so in a way that you were giving back, paying it forward, but also making a living. And,
Yes.
and that's what you've created.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that we both were doing it on some level because, as you say, Debbie's passion was always fitness on the side, even when
My
she
little
was
side hustle.
Right,
Side hustle.
Right. So even when you were in commercial production,
I was
you were doing
teaching
this
and
on the
training.
side.
Exactly,
Just
yeah.
for fun and for free gym membership.
And I've always been in the self-development coaching world as well.
Yeah.
And then so we sort of brought it together and did the radio show
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So.
And I always think that is the best way to start a business, is while you have some job that you're doing on the side, doing what
what
you're
you-
passionate about,
exactly.
that you can once, at some time parlay into a business.
That's
So-
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So now let's fast forward to where you are today. So Debbie, you take on clients to teach them nutrition and
Yes.
fitness.
So I'm a health and wellness coach. So
Right.
I help give them the full circle of what it takes, everything that feeds us in life, in addition to the food on our plate.
Right.
And being certified as a personal trainer, and I teach a lot of fitness classes, I'm able to work that into the protocol with my clients. And I work with groups, and I do workshops, and then most of my clients right now are one-on-one, men, women, their kids, so I have teenagers
And men,
as
women,
well.
aliens.
Yeah, and their dogs. But yeah, and then they set a goal. They come to me for something specific. Usually it's weight loss, or they're tired, they can't sleep.
Oh, people need to lose
They're
weight?
feeling.
I don't know anybody.
They're feeling lethargic and bloated, and
That's
we get to the bottom of it.
Right.
And that's how, and it's a process.
And you and I chatted yesterday about the fact that, people do know what to eat and what
Yes.
to do. I mean, I think most people do.
Yeah.
But what is it? What's that fine line of them knowing it and doing it? And I think that's where a coach comes in, that
Exactly.
accountability. And it's not that they
Absolutely.
don't know, right?
Right.
So what is it that keeps people from doing it? What is it?
Well, a little bit is.
I wanna know.
A little bit.
Well, I'll have a different answer to
There's
this.
a couple of things. I think that there's a fear of change. I mean, we create habits over
Yes.
a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's
Really?
hard
I
to
have none.
Only good
you
habits.
say. Ask other people. But so those habits are difficult to break.
Right.
And so
True.
working with someone helps you gradually. I have a little saying, we talked about it yesterday on our show, called crowding out, where you slowly but surely, you crowd out the bad stuff, the things that aren't benefiting you, and you bring in the good stuff. So you're not just abruptly, because diets,
Right.
as you know, there's over 100 dietary theories. They don't work.
Yeah, I don't think,
But-
I hate the word diet. I think it's
Yeah.
changing
It's
your
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I help people do.
Right.
And people want to do it, they don't have the tools to do it. So
Right.
working with a coach who is skilled and can work individually with that person, because
Right.
it's not one size fits all.
Right.
So I
So you
get
phase
to the
it out.
nitty-gritty. Yeah, you phase in, phase out.
Right.
Based on, people are worried always about trying to fit in. Everybody's at happy hour and drinking and eating the fried food and all the bad stuff.
Right.
And you think, I have to fit in, and you're being mindless about how you're eating. Well, I give them the tools to help them realize fitting out is okay.
Right.
And that.
So how do you
being
phase out the donut and
mindful-
phase in the celery?
Right, and it's gradual. It's the crowd out.
Oh, yeah,
theory.
you make your donuts with celery toppings
well,
on them.
there you go. You make them look like donuts. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's that premise.
Right.
That's mindfulness, and
Right.
to use mindfulness. You do need help with that.
Right.
Most people do. I mean, some people
Right.
can do it all on their own. We see
Right.
it all the time, but that's
So
what the
do a lot of
coaching's
people
for.
work with both of you together?
No,
we
we're
bounce people off each other.
Yeah.
Bounce
and
people, yeah.
suggest.
my answer to that question about how do people, or why don't people do what they know is good for them and things like that, is what I would say is their thinking. A lot
Yes.
of people define themselves by their thoughts. They think they don't understand the fluid nature of thought, and basically
And how we control it, right?
Well, we can't control the thoughts that come into our head, but we can. I say it's like the bothersome neighbor that comes to the door.
Right.
You can't control what's going out on the street, but you can control whether somebody knocks on your door and you let them in.
Right.
So
Oh, I
thoughts,
like that.
yeah, we can't control the thoughts that come and knock on our door.
Right.
But we can have the choices whether we invite them in.
Right. Oh,
So
I like
what?
that. That's
so
a
what
great
I?
analogy.
Yeah, it really is. And so what I would say is, if people have thoughts, they have a lot of habitual thoughts that go on, like, oh, but I feel so good when I eat this. It's like a reward system. So they almost have to say, okay, it feels that way right now, but that thought can go, because our thoughts just come and go,
Right.
on a whim.
Right.
So just hold on for a second, and that thought or that urge or that need will pass. And you can have a different option, a different choices to
Right.
what you do.
Right.
But we do have habitual thinking.
Right.
So some of
Especially women, right?
well, no, men and women, we're humans.
Men too? Because
humans.
but women, they say What's that when you keep repeating the same thought over and over? Like that more women do that than men.
Well, I
can't
in my
think of the word
experience,
right
because
now,
I
but-
work with men and women,
Yeah.
it's just a human thing. It's a
human thing,
It's a human
gotcha.
thing. It's not personal to you. So it's just the nature of how
Right.
we talked about it earlier, that our experience of life is a direct result of what our thought is in that moment.
Right.
So the emotion, it's like we have a thought, then we have an emotional reaction. So it can be about food, like, oh God, I'm feeling sad. Oh my God, I'm going to reach for something.
Yeah.
But you can just go, okay, wait a minute, that sad feeling came in, or that sad thought came in, or the thought came in that made me feel sad.
Right.
But it'll pass, and we don't have to act
Right.
out on it. And then we also produce these sort of neurotransmitters where we keep, every time we have a thought and we do a reaction,
Right.
it just reinforces that neural pathway. So the
I
more
see.
that you can just sit there and let the thought pass and the feeling pass, you're weakening that connection.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
almost the same premise, but
Yeah.
a
different-
different way of getting to that premise.
Yeah,
Right.
mindfulness
So,
and the 3 Ps are different, but similar, but different.
and
Right.
different
Yeah.
tracks to
Right.
get to get there. Were you thinking of mantras? When
Oh, I was
having
gonna-
mantras in their
well,
head,
what I was-
repeating?
Obsessive thinking,
Oh,
neurosis.
yeah, like
That-
I forget what it's called, but it'll come to me in a
Oh,
second,
okay.
maybe. But what I was going to say is I had a friend tell me years ago, and I thought it was profound. Is if you're having a feeling, then change your thought, because
Yes.
you can't have a feeling without having a thought.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And that's where
And
I was
you have
saying you control what you think.
Well, sometimes, though, if you resist the thought and you judge it and put too much emphasis on it, it hangs around a little longer than it need be.
Right.
If you just trust that it by nature it will pass, it's
Right.
like, it's like Buddhism in the sense of, we just watch our thoughts. We don't attach to them. We don't
Right.
judge them. We don't try and control them. Because
Right.
whatever you try and control does stick around a little longer than you want.
Right.
So you just sort of
And some
very
things-
gentle.
Some people are so compulsive,
Yes.
So there
Yes.
really isn't time for thought. It's
You
just
just do it without
And-
conscious thinking.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
we try to pull in different ways, but we try to pull them back and
Yeah.
say, okay, do use
Right.
your thought to
Yeah.
stop you.
Tell me, do you guys have some success stories that you'd like to share of clients that you've worked with? Obviously, you don't have to say their actual name. But
well, you
Well,
just you go
I talked
first,
about
'cause-
one yesterday
Yeah.
on the show. So I have a lot of clients. So I could tell you 2 quick stories. One, a couple of years ago, I had a client of mine have me work with her granddaughter because she was suicidal. And she was doing negative. She had dropped out of school and she had social anxiety. And when I met with her, one of the first things that I met with her to personal trainer, but I realized very quickly she needed the health coaching too.
Right.
And one of the things I do is I have them fill out a health coaching form so I can see a little bit of the background. As soon as I looked at her diet and as soon as I heard of all the medications she was on, I knew what was causing the problem.
Wow.
And again, you can't abruptly get rid of it. So I worked with her for about 9 months. She dropped almost 35 pounds. She went off her meds, her mood changed, and she went back she's in school right now, finishing up her college degree, and she's going to
that must make you feel
apply to
so
dental
great.
school.
Yeah.
So that is a big, and I still train her grandmother and her mother. So, and now her mother's having very big success with me weight-wise. And just, the thing is, it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
When you fix one thing, a lot of things start, if you can
Right.
change your diet and then you start to look better and feel better, other things in your life start to manifest. It's a
Right.
real snowball. It's a catchy thing.
Yeah.
When you look like you feel good and
Yeah.
you feel like you look good,
Yes.
this whole thing starts to work itself.
Right.
I'm working with a client now who, with health coaching, who's in her 60s and things slow down as we get older. And she simply said to me, I'd like to lose 10 pounds. I socialize a lot and I go to a lot of parties with a lot of buffets and, I'm always drinking and what should I do? So we've been working together now for about 6 months. And she's dropped 8 of the 10 pounds.
Wow.
She feels better. She looks better. She pays so much more attention. But these are sessions we meet twice a week for an hour at a time. Twice a month for an hour at a time. And then we do follow-ups,
Right.
through emails. And she takes my classes, so that helps her. And
I think accountability is huge.
And that's that's what
Yeah.
a lot of coaches
Because if nobody's being
are
accountable
we
to
give
anybody,
yes,
you know.
we give you tasks, more or less. We give you tools. It's up to you. Ultimately,
Right.
it's
Yes.
up to you to make the decision.
Right.
Like you said, you know better.
Yes.
But I can help you stay on track.
right?
You know,
I
because
love that. Is she talking to me?
Yeah, really.
I'm not talking.
I know, she's just.
If you were
love
one of my
these two.
clients, I would say that to you.
I
Anyway,
love these two, and I want to
that's my
talk.
success.
I want to leave everybody with your emails. I mean, not your emails. Sorry,
That's
And
okay.
here's
Yes,
their
please
phone
email
number.
us.
But
Yeah.
your Adey-Jones.
Adey-Jones.
Right.
Yes.
So Adey-Jones, and then yours, Debi,
is fitbydesign.la.com. Not to
Yeah.
be confused with Fit by Design, but it has an LA at the end.
Right,
.com.
Fit by
Yeah.
Design LA. Well, you two ladies are
Thank
amazing
you.
and full of such great energy, as I said in the beginning of the show. And I love what you're doing to help other people. And I love that you're doing what you love.
Yes,
That's-
absolutely.
That's always the best.
Well, I just
for
had such
highlighting us.
an impact on my life. It was life changing. So you can't help but want to share it with other people.
That's it.
That's
Exactly.
it. Yeah, you
Things
guys
in your
are
life.
walking the walk and talking the talk.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully.
All right, well,
Okay.
we'll be back next
Thank
week.
you.
Tune in same time, Wednesdays, noon at UBN. Be sure to check out Del and Debbie's show also on Tuesdays at 1
1
o'clock.
p.m.
Right
Also
here.
here on UBN.
Yeah.
All right, make it a great week. Hugs and happiness.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.